You spent months building that bed, amending that soil, babying those seedlings from seed. Then one morning you walk out and half your brassicas look like lace. Your bean leaves are stippled and yellow. Your tomato stems are sticky with aphids. And that gut punch feeling sets in, the feeling that something out there is winning, and you're losing your harvest one bite at a time. Here's what 20 years in the dirt has taught me. The problem was never the pest. The problem was the garden's relationship with its ecosystem. Once you shift that relationship, you stop fighting nature and start directing it. And that changes everything. If this kind of ecological, chemical-free approach resonates with you, subscribe to Backyard Crops. Every week we break down practical, expert-level strategies for growing food at home, without shortcuts that cost you your soil, your beneficials, or your health. Now, let's get into it. Solution number 1, the ecosystem shift, moving from killing to managing. The first and most important change you need to make isn't in your garden bed, it's in your thinking. Integrated Pest Management, IPM, is the framework that professional organic growers use. Its core principle is this: you do not aim for zero pests, you aim for balance. A healthy garden is part of an active food web, and that web requires some level of pest pressure to function. Aphids feed lacewings, caterpillars feed predatory wasps, slugs feed ground beetles. When you reach for a broad-spectrum spray at the first sign of damage, you collapse that web, and the pest population rebounds faster than the predators do. The practical implication: set threshold before you intervene. Ask yourself, is this pest causing economic damage to my harvest, or is it just present? Nibbled leaves are not a crisis. A stripped stem is. Learn the difference, record what you see, build a scouting habit. Walk your beds every 2 to 3 days, turn leaves over, inspect stems. Early identification is always more effective and less costly than emergency intervention. Solution number 2, the preventative shield, soil health and plant selection. Pest pressure is in large part symptom of stress. Plants growing in depleted, compacted, or nutritionally imbalanced soil are physiologically vulnerable. They emit stress signals that attract piercing and sucking insects like aphids, thrips, and whiteflies. A well-fed plant, by contrast, has thicker cell walls, stronger vascular tissue, and more robust systemic defenses. It recovers faster and suffers less structural damage from the same pest load. Build your preventative shield from the ground up. Top-dress beds with finished compost between plantings. Apply liquid worm castings as a foliar feed. This delivers soluble nutrients directly to the leaf tissue where the plant needs it most. Maintain a consistent mulch layer to regulate soil moisture and temperature, which also reduces the conditions that favor slug and snail activity in wet periods. Select varieties bred for disease and pest resistance when possible. This is not compromise, it is intelligence. A resistant variety paired with rich soil is already ahead of the curve before a single pest arrives. Physical barriers are your next line of preventative defense. Floating row cover, fine insect mesh fabric, placed over beds at transplanting time blocks whiteflies, flea beetles, aphids, and cabbage moths from ever reaching the plant. The critical timing rule: install it before pests arrive. Covering an already infested bed traps the problem inside. For ground-level pests, copper tape around raised bed edges creates a mild electrical deterrent for slugs and snails. The copper reacts with their mucus and produces a mild aversive charge, discouraging crossing. Solution number 3, the botanical bodyguards, using flowers as functional tools. Flowers in the vegetable garden are not decorated, they are infrastructure. Marigolds Tagetes spp are the most documented companion plant in organic horticulture. Their root secretions contain thiophene, compounds that are toxic to soil-dwelling nematodes, suppressing populations that would otherwise damage tomato and pepper root systems. Above ground, their strong terpene-rich scent disrupts the olfactory navigation of aphids, whiteflies, and certain beetles. Plant them densely along bed edges and at the base of brassicas and nightshades. Nasturtiums serve a dual purpose. Their foliage and flowers are a powerful attractant for aphids, particularly black aphids that target brassicas and beans. Used deliberately as a trap crop, nasturtiums draw pest pressure away from your main crops and concentrate it in one sacrificial location. This makes inspection and targeted removal far more efficient. Critically, their edible leaves and flowers mean nothing is wasted. Harvest what the pests haven't claimed. Sweet Alyssum lobularia maritima is one of the most underrated pest management plants available. It's tiny. Nectar-dense flowers are exceptionally attractive to hoverflies and parasitic wasps. two of the most effective aphid control agents in the garden. Alyssum's low, spreading growth habit also makes it a functional living mulch. It shades the soil, suppresses weeds, and maintains moisture. Tuck it between brassicas, lettuces, and along the front edges of beds. Zinnias and cosmos operate as broad-spectrum beneficial insect attractors. Their long bloom windows and open-faced flowers provide consistent pollen and nectar through the main pest season, supporting populations of ladybugs, lacewings, and parasitic wasps. Single-flowered varieties, rather than densely double blooms, are significantly more accessible to beneficial insects. Interplant these throughout the vegetable garden rather than isolating them in ornamental borders. Sunflowers and gomphrena add structural diversity and extend the flowering calendar into late summer, when other beneficial plants are finishing. Sunflowers also attract aphids to their stems, a secondary trap crop function, while simultaneously providing foraging habitat for ladybugs and hoverflies. The key principle: do not plant these flowers in a single isolated border. Distribute them through your vegetable beds so that beneficial insects are stationed throughout the growing area, not concentrated at one edge. Solution number 4, the beneficial army, attracting predators to do the work. Purchasing and releasing beneficial insects, particularly ladybugs, is largely ineffective without habitat and food sources already established. Released insects simply disperse. The correct strategy is to make your garden a permanent residence for beneficial populations. Lacewings are among the most voracious aphid predators available. Their larvae consume aphids, thrips, mites, and small caterpillars at high rates. Attract them with carrot family plants allowed to flower. Dill, fennel, coriander, and parsley in bloom are exceptional lacewing habitats. Parasitic wasps, tiny and non-stinging, lay their eggs inside caterpillar and aphid bodies. With the larvae consuming the pest from within, goldenrod, yarrow, cosmos, and carrot family flowers all support parasitic wasp populations. Hoverflies, whose larvae are specialist aphid predators, are drawn strongly to alyssum, calendula, and shallow open flowers where their short mouthparts can reach the nectar. Beyond insects, encourage insect-eating birds, robins, wrens, and blue tits consume extraordinary volumes of caterpillars, especially when feeding young. A nesting pair of robins will remove hundreds of cutworms and hornworm larvae from a garden across a single season. Provide low shrubs, water sources, and undisturbed mulch areas to support resident bird populations. Biodiversity is not an aesthetic choice. It is a functional pest management strategy. Solution number 5, the natural arsenal safe. Organic interventions for active outbreaks when pest populations exceed your tolerance threshold. There are several evidence-based organic interventions to deploy, in order of intensity. The first and most targeted option is manual removal. For caterpillars, Colorado potato beetles, and other larger insects, hand-picking at dawn or dusk, when insects are least mobile, is highly effective and carries zero risk to beneficials or soil biology. A strong stream of water directed at aphid colonies on stems and the undersides of leaves knocks populations back significantly. This method requires repetition every 2 to 3 days, but is non-toxic and immediate. For soft-bodied insects including aphids, mites, and thrips, insecticidal soap is highly effective. Mix 1–2 teaspoons of pure castile soap, not antibacterial dish detergent, which can damage soil microbiota, per 1 liter of water. Spray directly onto the insects, ensuring contact, as the fatty acids disrupt the pest's cellular membrane on contact. Always spray in the evening to protect extract derived from the Azadirachta indica tree. Its active compound, azadirachtin, disrupts insect hormonal systems, inhibiting molting and reproduction without immediate toxicity. This makes it particularly effective for systemic population management rather than immediate knockdown. Mix 1–2 teaspoons of cold-pressed neem oil with 1/8 teaspoon of castile soap per 1 liter of warm water. Shake continuously and apply within 8 hours of mixing as the emulsion breaks down quickly. Do not apply in direct sun. Phototoxicity risk to leaf tissue is real. Apply in the late afternoon or evening. For a broad-spectrum homemade repellent spray targeting aphids, caterpillars, and beetles, steep 6 to 7 chopped hot chili peppers and 1 full bulb of crushed garlic in 5 liters of water for 24 hours. Strain thoroughly. Add 3 tablespoons of castile soap and apply every 3 to 4 days, more frequently after rain. The capsaicin in the chilies creates a feeding deterrent. The sulfur compounds in garlic disrupt insect orientation and have secondary antifungal properties. A critical application rule for all organic sprays: never apply to open flowers or during peak pollinator activity hours. Evening application is standard practice. Rotate between spray types to prevent resistance development in target pest populations. Solution number 6. The maintenance cycle, weekly checks, and long-term garden health. Sustainable pest management is not a series of interventions. It is a continuous observational practice. Establish a consistent weekly inspection schedule. Check the undersides of leaves. This is where aphid colonies, caterpillar eggs, and whitefly populations establish before becoming visible. Remove lower leaves that touch the soil surface. These create direct access pathways for slugs, snails, and fungal pathogens. Doing so also increases airflow and light penetration through the canopy, reducing the humid, shaded microenvironments that soil pests require. Remove heavily infested or terminally damaged plants promptly, but consider leaving 1 or 2 sacrificial plants with controlled pest populations in place. These concentrate predator insects and provide ongoing food sources that keep beneficial populations resident in the garden. Practice crop rotation annually. Many soil-dwelling pests, root nematodes, cutworms, wireworms, overwinter in soil and target the same plant families the following season. Moving plant families across beds each year breaks their reproductive cycle. At season's end, clear debris thoroughly. Pest eggs and fungal spores overwinter in plant material. Compost healthy debris. Remove and dispose of diseased or heavily infested material elsewhere. Over time, garden managed through these principles becomes progressively more self-regulating. Beneficial insect populations stabilize, soil health improves, pest pressure decreases, the work becomes lighter, and the harvest becomes more reliable, not because you're fighting harder, but because the ecosystem is finally working with you. This is the long game. It's not dramatic and it doesn't promise miracles overnight. But it is the approach that actually works, season after season, without compromising your soil, your beneficials, or your food. If this kind of deep, ecological approach to growing is what you're here for, subscribe to Backyard Crops and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who's still reaching for the spray bottle at the first sign of damage. And drop your biggest pest challenge in the comments. Let's work through it together.